Welcome back to the Supercoach Take podcast. We're here to discuss all things with the buyers, a few premiums to bring in, and we'll just let you guys know how we're going this season. Joining me as always, Enno, how are you, mate? And tell us where we can be found.
Jords, welcome back, mates. It's been a while. All right, follow us on Twitter at Supercoach Take, same as Facebook, and also be sure to join the Discord. You find the link to that in our profiles on Twitter. But yeah, let's get into it, mate. It's been quite a few weeks since we've done one of these. You didn't show up for a few because you weren't going as great, but it's good to see you back, mate.
Now that you have a respectable rank, we are back. So yeah, it should be good. So we have a hot take. As usual, we'll do our hot take at the start, and I'll start off with my first hot take. Tom Hawkins will kick 14 goals this week on the Crows.
That's probably not one, is it really?
Well, I'm genuinely worried what he can do to us, or what the Geelong will do to us this week, because they're in hot form. Okay, my actual hot take. I think Matt Crouch averages 110 for the rest of the year. Yep. I think he's actually improved his disposal a little bit. He's a little bit more impactful. He's a very hard worker and seems to have worked on his game a bit this year. I think everyone just kind of memes him at this point, but I have been watching him closely and he's been playing okay the last few weeks. Plays the Hawks and Richmond, who tend to leak a bit of points in the midfield. So not this week, not the week he plays Geelong, but after his bye, he has the early bye. So I don't mind Matt Crouch as a pick, probably about 520k. So an option for someone to trade in that middle buy. So don't mind Matthew Crouch. Let's hear your hot take.
Yeah, no, just quick. I agree with you there. I mean, it's never really been his issue finding the pill, has it? It's just sort of what he does with it, and a lot of uncontested handballs and sideways kicks. They don't obviously score a lot in Supercoach, but he seemed to be doing a bit more with it the last few weeks, and yeah, with the early buy, he'll be a good option. Now, mine is for a guy I've owned for about a month or so, is one Jaden Short. And obviously since Hooley went out, his production's ticked up a bit, but I honestly don't think with Hooley back this week, it'll fall off too much at all, if not any, because he's taken pretty much all the kickouts now that he's on. I know Hooley will take a couple, but that probably will just get shifted away from others that have taken some, like Grimes, who's been, taking a few here and there. Hooley probably just takes a few of those. I still think Shorty can average 100 for the last 4 or 5 rounds or whatever it is. So I know he's in my team, so it's a bit biased, and I'm a Tigers man, but I probably won't be trading him out. He doesn't have a bad buy, so he's going to sit in my team unless it falls off dramatically, which I just don't think it will. So that's my hot take.
I think his floor is slightly lower with Hooley back, but yeah, I see people thinking about trading him out. I agree with you there. Think he'll be fine with Hooley back in.
Yep.
But you certainly wouldn't bring him in. He has a last buy as well, so yeah. I mean, not the worst option, but I think there's other options.
Yeah. If you have him, don't worry just yet. I mean, don't be premature about it, and just see how he goes.
Been a great pickup though for you. For what was it, 450, 460?
I think even 440, something like that. So yeah, not too bad.
Now the buy rounds this year, the second round of buys. How about that?
Yeah.
Our favourite part of the year.
It was going to be no buys with 17 rounds this year, and it's turned into, 6 or whatever?
6 rounds of buys.
Yeah. Anyway.
7 if you want to count the Melbourne and Essendon round.
And not ones you can plan for, which is...
yeah. So I would say I'm on the fortunate side, whereas, obviously I started with 4 Dogs premiums. I only have 3 left at the moment. And I also have 1 Geelong player. That's pretty much all I have for the middle buy. So I'm pretty well set. Brought in a lot of players, made a conscious effort to bring in West Coast players, Freo players, just players, GWS players that have had their buy. So I think I'm in an okay position. But I'll still be fielding, I think, 20 and 3 rookies. So 17 premiums, 3 rookies. What about yourself?
Yeah, you're looking pretty good with that. I've been hit pretty bad. It's sort of really all my pods that I have. Jack Steele. Yes, I'm still carrying Dan Houston, the GOAT. But yeah, I bought in both those Geelong boys, Stewart and Duncan. I've got Bond, I've got Baz, I've got Simpkin, who you don't have yet. So I'm missing 7 right now. But I'm going to obviously work my way. I haven't been trading in people that are going to have a buy coming up. It's obviously a thing you don't do, but it still hit me with 7 players in that bye week that I've got out. So with these extra trades, I'm sitting pretty nice with 9. I'll definitely be sidewaysing a couple blokes before that round 15 bye just to help me, or else I'll just take too much of a hit. So 7 right now, but yeah, I'll make it about 4 like you, I think, that I'll be missing.
So you have a few trades left up your sleeve to just sideways a premium.
Yeah.
I don't have that luxury, but you've got that option, which is good.
Yeah, well, I have 9 trades. A lot of people will, but I only have Draper as the only rookie on field. So, yeah, I can afford to do that.
Okay, we'll touch on rookies really quick. I'm not too sure on rookies. We might get Will Gould coming up pretty soon. I think at this point, you just go 102 rookies. And it really depends how much help you need in that middle buy. But they're not really going to... These rookies, they're not scoring barely anything at this rate. And you probably get more value from saving money on a 102k rookie. I'm bringing in Nick Reed. I'm not quite sure on his job security. I know West Coast have rotated their small forwards through, I think it's Jared Cameron, Petrocelli, I think someone else as well. So I'm not sure he holds his spot, but we don't need their cash, and they're not going to score barely any points anyway.
Yep.
So do you have anything to add on that?
I just got one thing to add. I'll just use my team for an example. I've got Scholl and Rivers on the bench. Don't be trading both of them to a 102k for. I know it's only there's a few buy rounds, so it's actually not too bad because they're best 18. But say for round 18 when it's back to 22 playing, you don't want both your bench players being 102.
Yeah.
You could risk it, I guess, but you might get an out, you might get something, and you just need that backup. So, I'll probably have one of my forward bench, one of my defender bench, and 1 or 2 of the mid bench at 102k guys. But make sure you still have that backup or that cover.
I think Schoenberg and Close should play all games for the rest of the year. Maybe they get managed again or something. But yeah, the Crows want to persist with Schoenberg. He was good, 15 disposals, and I think Close comes back this week. They like his pressure, so that's a good point, man. Now, we'll talk about premiums to bring in. I think the main topic of discussion this week is poor Sicily and his ACL injury. We need a replacement for him.
Yep.
I'm thinking, for me, there's only one option, and I'm not even looking at anyone else. I need Jake Lloyd. There's risks with pretty much everyone that I could possibly trade in. I already have Haynes who has the buy. Williams is sort of an injury risk, and I could go Luke Ryan, but there's nothing surer than this bloke punching out another few 120s. So I will bring in Jake Lloyd. He won't get injured or anything. Well, actually, he was icing his foot, so hopefully he's okay. But yeah, just get Jake Lloyd in my opinion. It means I compromise my M8, but I don't care. I just need Jake Lloyd in. Can't do it anymore. So yeah, Jake Lloyd is locked for me. Who are you thinking?
I'd love to get him in. I know we both probably sat here at the start of the season trying to argue why he might be not as good of a pick at his price, and he's just gone and burnt us all year. So we've made a bad call there. But Sicily dropped too much for me to actually get him. I have pretty much no cash in the bank, and with only 2 trades available this week, because I only got Draper left on field, I've cashed in all my rookies and have a pretty much full primo team. So I can't get him even in 2 trades that we have this week. So I just have to go someone cheaper, and I think I will go someone cheaper anyway, like as Williams or a Sard. And I'm not sure if you mentioned him, just someone that's already had their buy to bank another 50, 60k when I eventually need to upgrade Draper. So I'm looking solidly at Sard or Zach Williams.
Or who do you think right now, Sard or Williams?
I want to say Williams, because I think I'll have a trade if he does get injured, which is obviously the risk with him. But he's definitely got the highest ceiling and more scoring potential than Sard. Sard's just probably a bit more consistent. He's only had 1 dub this year, and I don't think I think he's played every game except one since he got to Essendon. So there's no risk with him missing either, you'd think. So I'd say Williams at this stage, but you never know. I've still got a day or so to make my call.
I do enjoy watching Sard and McKenna put the Jets on at halfback. It's good to watch.
Well, that's the other thing. McKenna's not playing halfback at the moment. He's playing forward. So does
Oh,
he get
really?
thrown
Oh,
back?
jeez.
In the next few games and reduce Sard's output a tiny bit. But yeah, not sure.
That's an interesting one. So we can speak about some more defenders. So we can speak about Luke Ryan. We'll just touch on Jake Lloyd really quick. I think he's the most bulletproof option by a mile. If you can afford him, pay up for him. If not, I think in the top 100, only 50% of teams have Jake Lloyd. So still not a pod, obviously, but you'd think that would be a bit higher. But they were thinking the same as us at the
Yeah.
start of the year. But yeah, Luke Ryan we can speak about. So the glaring thing about Luke Ryan, he's averaging 120 over his past 5 or 6. The thing about Luke Ryan is he leaves Optus Stadium, so he's had a lot of home games. And earlier in the year when he was in the hub, you were telling me off there, his scoring wasn't anywhere near. I think he only had 100 plus, maybe 2, before coming to Perth. So is that a factor? I think so, and I'm not sure. Obviously, if Luke Ryan drops even just a little bit to 100 average, he's still probably not too bad of an option. Although he'd be a bit overpriced if that was his output. But I do worry about that factor. But he's playing very well at the moment, and not only that, I think after he has a stretch of playing really well, I think a bit like Haynes, you think he gets some attention. You can't let him roam free like this every game. But we're only guessing. So it's a matter of, do you pay up for Ryan or do you go down to a Williams, Sard or Haynes? Do you have any thoughts on Luke Ryan?
Oh, I honestly would love to get him if I could. I just don't think it's worth it at his price. Like you said, he's on an unbelievable run the past 5 weeks, and yeah, I don't. Not that I don't trust him, like you don't, but I just, yeah, I'm really going to bank that cash. So nothing against him. I honestly think he's in contention for All Australians. Probably not a hot take, but he's been like unbelievable holding down their back six with all the injuries they've had. He's played phenomenally. So, yeah, I'm not bringing him in just because I think he's overpriced for what he can do. I know Lloyd's 50k more, it's still quite a bit, but if you're going to spend that, go to him or just go down to someone that we were mentioning before. So he's in that just awkward sort of range for me at this minute.
Yep. So yeah, don't mind Luke Ryan as an option. But yeah, it's just, as you said, you just feels like you should pay up for Lloyd, or I suppose if you already have Lloyd, you can still go for Ryan. But
Yeah, you still can.
yeah. So Zach Williams, obviously clear injury risk, especially with all the hamstring injuries going around. But playing really well, starting to hit some form. Well, averaging pretty well. I think almost 100 average since coming back, straight from having that hamstring injury. Expect him to play off half back. Might get a few stints in the midfield, but it is a bit crowded in there at the moment. I think. Do you think you need trades up your sleeve if you go to Zach Williams?
Oh, you don't have to. I know a lot of people are probably struggling to have a lot of trades left with the finished team, but it's only 6 games, isn't it? 5 or 6 games. You can back him in. He seems fit at the moment. Obviously, anyone could get injured, but he's obviously a higher risk than most. But he looks fine. He looks fit. He's 3 straight tons since coming back. So yeah, I don't hate him.
For his price, it's definitely value.
Yeah.
I think it's worth the risk, to be honest. And finally, we can speak about Nick Haynes. I've had Nick Haynes for a long time. For me, when I watch him, I think he has a bit of seagull mentality. He likes drifting to the wing or on the further sides of the ground to get a few cheapies, but he also loves to do all the hard stuff as well. Was tagged, so he's not going to get tagged every week. I like Haynes as an option. For me, I'd take Haynes over Sard and Williams, actually. Yeah, I think I would. And Yeah, I've enjoyed watching him play. He scores pretty well. Even his disposals, his low disposal games, he still posts a respectable score. Can go big as well. He's for me next week he'll be around 500, 490. I'd expect. Um, I like Nick Haynes as an option, and he is the one that I would go to. Are you interested in Nick Haynes?
I am. It's sort of he's got that high break even. I mean, I'm not really looking at. He's 526, so I'm bringing in a guy to finish my team with, or play the rest of the year out. But he's got West Coast this week. We're going to have a very, very tall forward line. And we've
Yes.
watched Sicily play his absolute two stinkers against teams with tall forward lines. So uh, he could drop a hell of a lot more. And I'm thinking, just because this is me, obviously personally, I have Houston still, who has that terrible buy. So I'll be swapping. He'll be one of those players I'll be sidewaysing. If Haynes drops enough, it could be an easy 30, 40K to go Houston to him, or maybe 50 or whatever it will be. So I'm thinking Williams will start this week and then maybe Haynes the next week or week after.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm definitely looking at it, is to answer your question for sure.
I suppose, like you brought up with Sicily, you do worry that his role, he might have to play tall. I don't think he has done that a whole lot this year. He's played a fair bit loose when he can.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he could drop those poor scores, but you just also like Sicily had that 3 round average of nearly 150 or something, probably a bit lower, but he can have those big scores where he just intercepts everything. But yeah, you take the good with the bad with Haynes. But yeah, maybe wait a week depending on your cash.
Yep.
So those are the defenders we like. I suppose most people just about finished would have at least 5 premiums in defence because we've had no rookies all year back there. But we can move to the midfielders. And for me, the midfielders, anyone who plays the Crows will have an inflated score. Even with Brad Crouch coming back, they're still going to leak points. So those players, it's the GWS players. Carlton play the Crows pretty soon. If you don't have Cripps.
Get him in.
Yeah. Tom Mitchell versus Matt Crouch probably get 40 disposals each.
Yep.
Um,
The Tigers last round, I think it is. So, yeah.
does Dusty care against lower teams? I'm not sure.
Round 18, I don't know, but there's not really anyone else that you would get from our team, I guess, in the midfield. Maybe Shy Bolton in the forward line. People are looking at, I guess, but yeah. The annoying one is the Cats have them this week, so
yeah,
and they have the terrible bye, so yeah.
Duncan and Dangerfield will have some good fun that game.
Yep.
Okay, so in the midfield, the cheapest option right now is probably Sprayshaw Senior with the helmet. So I'm talking about Angus Sprayshaw, who's moved back into the midfield. And yeah, I've spoken a bit about this on Twitter and on YouTube. He's played 3 teams that have been leaking points in the midfield. This week he plays the Dogs mids. So I'm really not sure how he goes. There's always that risk that with Jack Viney, maybe they sort of rotate who gets more mid-time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I do know that when Jack Viney was out, his mid-time was around, his CBA attendances he was in 90% of CBAs with Viney in. Oh, sorry, with Viney out, he was in 90% of CBAs. When Viney came back into the team, it dropped to about 73, something like that. So his CBAs were down a bit.
But he still had a bit though. Yeah.
Yeah, so still has plenty of CBAs. I think this is the play if you're desperate for money. I do worry about, I'm not sure how he goes against good teams. I have no idea. So obviously Dogs mids are pretty tough to play against for the most part. So yeah, I think, to be honest, I might get him in next week because I am struggling for cash. So even though he's going to make money, it won't matter for me, given my situation. I'm actually going to give him another week. I want to see how he goes this week.
Yeah,
then I'll make a call on him.
Yeah, if he goes well this week, then you'll be confident.
Yeah. Not interested in him, though?
Well, I just don't, do I, Jordan? I have a full midfield, so I would be if I was struggling for cash and there was, that was the M8 option. But I went the two boys that we're going to talk about next, which is we like to call the Italian Bang Bros.
Not related to anything else.
Than just being good brothers in the midfield. But yeah, these guys I overstated the draw that they have coming up, because before the fixture came out, I just saw a post as to where obviously what teams have got who left to play. And it was really, besides West Coast, who they've got this week, it was Sydney last week, obviously, which didn't go well. Then it's like Carlton, I think it's Freo, and just
Crows.
Crows, obviously. So a couple of pretty poor sides. So I just thought, GWS probably get into form, make a push for finals, because they're a pretty good team, and they dished up that weak performance on last week. So not as confident anymore, but I'll give it another chance.
Yeah.
I know you've got Cogs.
I'm confident in Cogs.
Yeah. Taranto, not as much.
Yeah, I did read, I think somewhere on AFL Fantasy, someone said he missed out on forward status because they get DPP swaps during the year. So he was 3% off getting a forward status, which I was unaware of.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just easing him in because of injury. So
I watched him, obviously, because I owned him last week. And he started every quarter in the forward. Like, he's the first in the forward, and then he's obviously rotates midfield after that. So it's kind of annoying. But and it seems like he spends a decent chunk down there, like good 6-7 minutes every start of every quarter. So
it's a bit of a pain.
I'd like it to be higher, but we'll see.
I think they do want him in the midfield, though. He was their best player in the grand final.
Exactly. Didn't he win their BNF? Or
yeah,
exactly. So
yeah, we are kind of guessing though if he goes back in full time, but it does make sense for him to go back in. I think he'll be a reasonable price as well. He might get below 500. I'm very interested if I can afford that in Toronto. So next we can speak about Luke Parker. I've owned Parker in the past, and he is 1 week you love him, the next 3 you hate him. So I can't do it because he just goes on stretches. I remember I had him, I think 2 years ago. He went 8 rounds without hitting the ton. Oh my goodness, driving me nuts. Obviously, he's the man in that Sydney midfield, getting a bit of help from Rowbottom and a few young guys. I can't do it, to be honest, but he looks like a decent option. I would take Merritt over Parker every day of the week. What do you think of Luke Parker?
Yeah, well, I share the same sentiments with him. Just being not a burn man, I guess, but just a bit underwhelming for weeks at a time. The only good year he was to own was 2016 when he actually was like a top 8 midfielder. But for whatever reason, like he's sort of meant to be in his prime at the moment, or the last couple of years, and he shows it 1 week and then he has a couple of down weeks and then he comes out and looks like he's a freaking Brownlow winner. Then the week after, like you just don't really get it with him.
Yeah.
People say,
I was going to say, especially if you're playing for league finals, you can't trust him.
No. He's just not consistent enough, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he's still averaging, 105, 107, something like that.
He's been okay this year. Yeah,
he's been okay. But he's always, since that year he had 110, he's just fallen short every year. But yeah, we'll speak about Zach Merritt. I think the Bombers fixture, probably more on the difficult side. But I do like Zach Merritt. I thought he has stretches where he looks like he's going to take the next step and average like 120, 125, and then he just has a few poor ones or one poor one here and there. Not really getting tagged this year, which is quite nice for him because previous years, the tag has always brought down his average into about 550. So he's kind of competing with Cogs for that spot in the midfield. If you're bringing someone in at that price, I definitely think you can go with it with Zach Merritt, scoring pretty well, getting plenty of the pill, and the mid time is there.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
just
I'm a
think
fan of Zach Merritt pick, playing well, but he does have like hot streaks, and so I think right now he's kind of on a hot streak. Um, I think he had one at the start of the year as well, and then kind of just dies down a bit. So who knows with Zach Merritt though? But I still think you're probably good for at least 105 average with him from here on out.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just they've really stepped up with a couple of boys in the midfield like McGrath and Parrish starting to go in there a bit now, and Shields obviously there, so it's just not all the attention on him, which is a good thing. So
Yep.
I definitely don't mind him as a pick.
So Nat Fife, I think this is pretty simple. You get him in if you can, despite the injury risk, unless you will have no injury traits left. I think that's when it's not worth the risk. But otherwise, he's Nat Fife. He's shortened games help him, and he scored what did he score 120, 130, and he played forward like a deep forward for 2 quarters.
Well, 70 of them were in the first quarter, so
Yeah, he's a monster. He's the one I'm concerned about not owning. Him and Oliver, no, it doesn't sit well with me not owning them too. Are you able to get Nat Fife in, or are you not interested?
I could have last week. Well, the only way I could have is because I got 2 mids in last week, downgrading Gorn, and it was because he was 570. It was him, and then a 500 or under 500k mid,
Yeah.
or I could go like 2 530s sort of thing, which is what I ended up going 530 or Cogs was 550. Yeah, I kind of regret not doing so, but then getting like an Andy McGrath with him last week, but. Yeah, he's always at risk, that injury risk. But like I said, I'll be sidewaysing that around that round 15 buy, and whoever I decide, sort of Bont or Steele or whatever, it could go straight to Fife if he's looking really, really good.
I actually think Fife won't get injured because he's been very delicate with his preparation. He's been focusing the last 2 years on not having soft tissue injuries, and this is the first one in about 2 years. I think it was just said he couldn't do all his preparation properly with the hubs.
Yeah.
So I think he'll fix that and make sure that he doesn't get injured again. And even if he plays forward, he's still going 120 minimum. So I think he'll be fine, but kind of just guessing.
Well, they're back out of the hub now, so if you say that, I guess. Well, they still 1 or 2 games, and then they're back. Then they're going back to Queensland, so maybe he does become more of a risk if he can't do his tight regime.
So Jared Lyons, he's one that's averaging about 120, 117, and
no one cares.
no one cares exactly. But we have to take him seriously.
Besides that guy in the Discord.
Oh, the Jared Lyons fan. I don't know what's his name. I think it's Chris.
Yeah.
He's the Jared Lyons guy, as we refer him to. Are you looking to get Lyons in?
Yeah, he's another one. So it seems like I'm sidewaysing everyone in my team, but because he has an early buy, and then we just looked last night. Lions have a pretty easy draw as well to finish. Yeah, he'll definitely be one I'll be looking at. Probably almost guaranteed I'll be getting him after his buy.
Yeah.
Who do they have? It's
they have an easy fixture. That's all I know.
So Saints this week, bye, and then Pies, who been leaking points like nobody's business. Suns, Swans, and then the Blues. So
that's a joke. Get him. He's 610ish, something like that.
What's his break even? Is it? He's not going up, is he, or is he? It's okay. It's sort of just 107. So hopefully he just stays sort of normal this week, and then after his bye, straight in.
Yep. I would get him in if I could, but I can't. Would you go him over Fife?
What's Fife? A little bit cheaper, 20k, 30k.
Yeah.
If you need that 30k, I wouldn't fight. Just go Fife, and he doesn't have a buy. But yeah, I'd say no. I'd say I'll go Fife still first, and probably Lions.
So the Ruckman, for some people, it's been a bit of a circus this year, like myself. Can't say I won't go Gordon Grundy again next year. I mean, we might get someone cheap, but I don't think I can do it to myself. But we have now. I actually enjoy it when we have other options in the ruck because it does just diversify the game a little bit. Sure, it's nice to just lock them away. So for me, who are we getting in? I suppose people have traded Gorn already. But like yourself, you have Draper at the moment.
Yeah, I was just going to say, touch on what both, because we did different things, what strategy we took for the last 2 weeks with Gorn. So start with yours.
Well, I moved heaven and earth to get Gorn in, 780k. And it set me back a little bit, but I couldn't do it anymore. I had Pitney scoring 30s. And I said, no more. So I got in Max Gorn 780. He's injured. So actually, as soon as I heard, this was before they announced that he had a knee problem, I got in Nick Nat Nui.
That
No
week.
buy.
Yep.
I think I read some Kane Corns article, don't ask me why, and it said that he's the most improved player in the competition. Started looking into it a bit more. Yeah, he's improved a lot. He's and obviously the shortened games help him. Watching him, Nick Nat just takes the piss every game.
Yeah.
So the plan was cash him, and then I was looking at, well, cash gen is so difficult this year, right? Let me grab 220k. So I got in Nick Nat. Obviously, he's the risk of getting rested, but we have the buys coming up, so he should be okay. But yeah, the plan was cash in Gorn as soon as possible, go Nick Nat, who doesn't have the buy. And that was pretty much it. If it wasn't Nick Nat, it would have been Riley O'Brien. Because he had like a 50 2 or 3 weeks ago. But we know he's better than that. His game, he can score well, he can tackle, he can get a few kicks in the clearance, marks around the ground. He can do all that. So it was Nick Nat or Rob, and I went Nick Nat because he was cheaper at the time. So how did you deal with Gorn?
Well, I've had him all year, so a bit different to you. And that week he was injured. It was best 18, so most people, 99%, I'd probably say, just took not the hit per se, but just, fielded Draper or whatever and just dealt with it other ways. It was only best 18, so had enough primos or whatever to still score well. And then this week, just to go sort of a left field, I don't know how many people sort of have done it, but I just went straight down to, because I have BJ, I just swung BJ in and went Gorn to like a rookie and upgraded in the midfield and just got those 2 mids in that we were talking about before. So my whole team is full of primos besides Draper at ruck 2. So he's the only guy I got left to upgrade. Hopefully pumps out a couple of decent scores and he'll be it. I'll probably trade him straight to Rob after his bye to finish the season.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I saw a few people trade in Todd Goldstein, and Goldstein probably the safest bet, but with that buy, it's pretty nasty. So I'm not sure how people are arranging that.
They got unlucky there.
Yeah. Same with Marshall. Marshall did pretty well on the weekend. So if you're in a position where you have the money and that it's after that buy round, I think you could go Goldie or Marshall. Or at that point, Gorn might be back in and dropping heaps in money. So you could go back to Gorn depending on how he goes. But for me, I'm not sure you go Nick Nat now because they've already said that they might rest him.
Yeah, he'll have a buy essentially anyway.
So I think you go for me, it's Rob that you go to.
Yeah.
So we can talk about the forward line. Forward line's been pretty interesting this year. Pretty difficult to pick, and guys like Bailey Smith has had everyone got him in. He kind of had a bit of a flat run, then fortunately played the Crows. Then Brayshaw had his massive run after doing nothing at the start of the year. Now he's done nothing this week. Parrish got in. Parrish is one I've looked at a lot, who we'll speak about in a second. Didn't do anything in the first half of the year, or first half of this year, and now playing pretty well. So a lot of options. One I just want to quickly touch on is Toby Green, who's coming back soon, I assume. And he averaged nearly, I think in the last few games last year, was it well over 100, something like that, maybe 120, a few 130 games.
Yeah, playing midfield.
Yeah, that's right. Still, with the Giants, easy goals. I know he had a game where he kicked 5 this year. Or was that Jordan Nagoe? I can't remember.
No, he did versus us.
Yeah, he did. If it's the last 2 rounds and you need an upgrade, I think you go Toby Green. But I'm not sure how many people are in that position. So I just wanted to say that, something to consider. Would you consider him if you were in that position?
Uh, maybe. I'll probably not. Just the last two. They have Crows before that, so
Yeah.
he could kick six against the Crows, definitely. But depends on his back. What is actually? Do you know his timeline or how he's looking?
I don't know. I think it was 2-3 weeks last week.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah,
Darcy,
it'd be an
wait,
option.
sorry, on.
It'd be an option maybe if someone got injured. Yeah, in my
Yeah.
forward line.
So Darcy Parish has averaged, I think, last 6 rounds. I feel like he's just given us 90s every week, something like that, thereabouts. I do not more. I don't mind this option. I do worry when Stringer comes back in. Does that hurt Parish's mid time? And also, Parish took a few of the CBAs of what Devon would have had. I don't think Devon belongs in the midfield this year. He's looked terrible in there, to be honest. Or basically everywhere. So would you be looking at Darcy Parish as an option? I'm thinking about it, but I am worried that they throw him forward a bit with Stringer coming back in. And Stringer, in his last game before injuries, had 15 CBAs, but coming back from injury, we're basically guessing who plays midfield at this point. Are you thinking about Parish at all?
Yeah, he's looked pretty impressive to be honest the past few weeks. I hate to say it again, but like I've got every forward there. So if I was to, it'd be sidewaysing, Greenwood or Simpkin, but I probably won't. Just around that buy, to sort of get me that extra buy player. It'd definitely be an option. But yeah, like you said, I think with Stringer, he sort of just takes centre bounces, but he still just drifts back forward. He's one of those sort of players.
Yeah.
Same as sort of Tipper. Like they don't spend, after centre bounce, they don't spend the next 5 minutes on the ball. They're in there for that sort of impact in the centre bounce, and then they just head back to the forward line. So he should still play pretty decent mid minutes, I think. So yeah, he's definitely an option.
Yeah, I should probably ask you, would you bring him in if you had space in your forward line?
No,
But yeah, I think Parrish he's their best clearance player in my opinion. Or he wins the most clearances since he's been in the midfield. So for me, he needs to be at as many CBAs as possible. I think I'm actually going to skip him though. Now that I think about it, I'm just too worried. There's a slight role change. Although I think he's played well enough to hold his spot in midfield, but it's just I don't want to be in a position where I'm guessing, especially closing in on the year. I don't want to deal with something like that.
yeah,
So you don't mind it, but there is that risk attached. Now, Jai Simpkin, very cheap. A lot of people have him already. Some people got him in at 550 and unfortunately got a bit unlucky there. I think you have to bring Simpkin in after his bye if you don't have him, if you have room. I just think I look at his scoring, right, and he's making so many clangers and mistakes, and I think that's attributed to his foot injury. Like his foot skills have gone down the toilet, basically, but he's still finding the pill like a lot, and he's handballing a bit. I think he's handballing a bit more than he was earlier in the year. I still think he'll score fine, play every game. Maybe the week off will help him rest. For me, I'm definitely getting him after his bye, and that will finish my team. Do you have any thoughts on Jai Simpkin?
yeah. I got him at the basement price 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I mean, there's no issue with his mid-time, with his ball. He gets the ball. He does everything. He's actually been tackling all right lately as well, which is always good. It's just those clangers, man. He's kicking. He's just sometimes horrific. Like he just rushes it way too much. He'll get the pill out of a stoppage and he'll just throw it on the boot straight away, sort of without thinking or taking too much care with it. So if he cleans that up, for 3 or 4 kicks of his per game, he'll be fine. He'll average 9,500 for the rest of the year. It's just that annoying buy that he's got. So if you're looking to bring him in now, just make sure you're pretty set for that buy. You're not going to be too hampered.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that's just pretty annoying.
He might almost be the exception to bringing him into the buy. But I still think it depends on your situation, obviously, because he's so cheap.
Yeah.
But yeah, a bit like Clayton Oliver. As soon as Oliver fixed up his Clang account, which was astronomical last year. He's turned into a 125 plus player. Definitely one for the future as well, Joe Simpkin, but we'll see how he goes.
Yeah.
Now, finally, we'll speak about James Rowbottom. I think he was pick 25, pick 23, something like that in the Super Draft. Just want to read out one stat for just one stat at the moment that I just came across from the AFL player ratings. So I think number one is like Petrarca, Gawn's up there, Neil's up there. So James Rowbottom in the past 3 rounds is ranked the 10th best player in the AFL, according to the AFL player ratings. Yeah. That's pretty good, right? In form, scoring okay. I think he's averaging 90 or something in the past few games. So that's pretty good. Definitely, he's going to get the mid-time, it looks like, with all the injuries. And he's only about 400k, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this. Has a lot of good attributes, has a bit of pace. I don't mind this pick for his price. And if you're looking for someone right now for 400 odd K, I think it's Rowbottom or Brayshaw, Helmet Brayshaw. Playing pretty well, so highly touted as well in the draft. Still pretty young. I think he's like 19, maybe 20. I don't mind this pick, Rowbottom. Watched him play, played pretty well, had a bit of an impact, and had a pretty consistent year as well. Do you have any thoughts on Rowbottom?
No, he's played really well the past couple of weeks. They did play the Giants, I guess, and he scored pretty well. But they do have. I'm just looking at the fixture: Port, Brisbane, and Geelong to come. Not in a row, but just to come. Mixed in with Carlton and I guess the D's as well, who have a pretty good midfield. So, yeah, I don't mind it at 420k, but obviously no buy helps. But, I'd almost still get Simpkin in over him if you didn't have either. Even with Simpkin's buy. Obviously, but, depending how you're going. But, no, he's definitely looked good in that, yeah.
That is a player range.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
it's not great. Yeah, it's not great.
I'm actually reconsidering him right now. I can't get him this week, so I'll have a think about it next week. But I think for his price, it's decent. Probably has a floor, maybe 85 with upside high 90s, maybe. Which for his price isn't the worst, but you'd expect more from Simpkin or maybe Angus Brayshaw, but depends on your situation, I suppose. But yeah, just thought I'd put that one out there. I don't mind it. Definitely think he is an option.
Yep.
So that summarises our return podcast. Hopefully another one soon. It won't be in 8 weeks because the season will be over, but I think we'll hopefully get a few more in before the end of the season.
Yep.
So it's been a pleasure, Anna.
Yep, as always, mate. Good luck.
And I don't think we shared our rank. So I'm ranked about 2.2k. Where are you at the moment?
Into 1500, so 1.5. And the leagues as well. The regs, we sort of made a bit of resurgence mid-year, and then we're just hanging around that. What are we, 16th, I think, at the moment. And regs 2 is about 40th. So hopefully we can get into the top 10 leagues to finish off. That'd be good.
That'd be good. But yeah, so thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you guys soon.